Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Napoleon Total and I'm back with another Enlisted video. Today we will be doing a quick guide on the Mosin. This guide will cover the history of the Mosin and provide in-game tips and tricks. Let's get started. Developed in 1882 to 1891, the Mosin was used by the armed forces of the Russian Empire, the Soviet Union, and various other nations. It was the most mass-produced military bolt-action rifle in history, with over 37 million units being made since 1891. Despite its age, it has been used in various conflicts around the world and up to present day. The need for such a weapon occurred during the Russo-Ottoman War of 1877 to 1878. The Russian troops, mostly armed with the Burden single-shot rifle, suffered heavy casualties against Turkish troops equipped with the Winchester repeating rifles. This was particular at the siege of Pleven, where Turkish troops gunned down Russian troops en masse. Thus, Russian commanders needed a new modernized general infantry weapon for the army. Various models were acquired and tested for the Ministry of Defense of the Russian Empire. In 1889, the Li 1886 was obtained from France to test. In 1889, 3 rifles were submitted for evaluation. Captain Sergei Ivanovich Mosin of the Imperial Army submitted his 3-line caliber 7.62mm rifle. The Mosin rifle was far more compatible mechanism and had a long, tiresome procedure of disassembling. The Belgian designer Leon Nagat produced the 3.5-line 9mm design. Nagat's rifle was mainly criticized for its low quality of manufactured and materials. Captain Zinovich submitted another 3-line design of 7.62mm, but no one cares. Which the bolt-action rifle of the Mosin design was ordered into production and under the name of 3-line rifle in 1891. Some characteristics of the Mosin are as follows. The Mosin's body is multi-built, whereas the Mauser is one piece. The Mosin uses the interchangeable bolt heads like the Enfield Lee. Like the Mauser, the Mosin uses a blade ejector mounted on the receiver. The Mosin bolt is removed by simply pulling it to the rear of the retriever and squeezing the trigger, while the Mosin has a bolt-stop lever separating from the trigger. Like the Mauser, the bolt lift arc on the Mosin Nagant is 90 degrees, versus the 60 degrees on the Enfield. The rifling of the Mosin barrel is turned clockwise at 4 grooves. The 5-round fixed mechanism mechanical bolt can be either loaded by inserting the cartridges individually, or more often military service by 5-round zipper clips. Now let's get back to history. The 3-line rifle model 1891 is its original and official designation, which was adopted by the Russian military in 1891. There have been several variations from the original rifle, the most common being the M1891-30, which was modernized design introduced in 1930. This is the one that we have in game. The rifle did not receive the name Mosin because of the personal decision taken by Tsar Alexander III. That the Tsar himself dashed the word Russian onto the rifle. That said, Leon Nagat remained the major contractor of the Russian government. Mosin could not be a contractor because he was an officer in the Russian army. The rifle could be first seen serviced in the Russo-Japanese War, where it would replace the Burden. During the war, the rifle had high velocities exceeding 600 meters per second, 200 feet per second, and result in land battles both commencing and being capable of fought at longer ranges, nearly around 2 kilometers. During the First World War, due to desperate shortages of arms and the shortcomings of a still developing industry, the Russian government ordered 1.5 million M1891 infantry rifles from Remington, and another 1.8 million from other companies in the United States. Remington produced 750,000 rifles and delivered 450,000 rifles to Russia, where the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk ended hostilities between Central Powers and now Soviet Russia. Fun fact, due to almost becoming bankrupt, the remaining 280,000 rifles developed by Remington were bought by the US Army, which will be used by the National Guard and in other training roles. At the beginning of the Second World War, the Mosin Nagant M1891-30 was the standard issue rifle of the USSR. The Mosin Nagant M1891-30 was modified and adapted as a sniper rifle from 1932 onwards, with mounts and scopes from Germany at first, and with other domestic designs. By 1942, the rifle was issued with a 3.5 power PU fixed focus scope to Soviet snipers. This is the current scope that we see in game for Moscow and for Berlin. Also, because of the scopes on the rifles themselves cannot be using stripper clips. In turn, they had to be loaded manually, which is once again what we see in the game. Now let's move on to variants. There are many variants of the Mosin service. The variants in game are the model 1907, which has a hit power of 13, a muzzle velocity of 775, a reload of 3.4, a rate of fire of 13 to 15, a 5-round magazine, and it is stock for Moscow. It is not available for Berlin. This Mosin was introduced in 1907. The carbine at 40 inches and 7.6 pounds was 11.37 inches shorter and 2.1 pounds lighter than the M1891. This carbine was stocked almost to the front sights and thus did not have a bayonet. Therefore, production of new models were undertaken at the Ivesh factory. Fun fact, these guns are very rare nowadays. Next, we have the model 1891-30. It has a hit power of 15, a muzzle velocity of 815, a reload of 3.4, thus having a rate of fire of 15 to 70 rounds per minute. Have 5 rounds magazine and is available for level 1 in Moscow. It is not available for Berlin. The model 1891-30 is the most prolific version of the Mosin Nagat. It was produced for the standard issue rifle for all Soviet Army units from 1930 to 1945. Its design was based on the Dragoon rifle with the following modifications: flat rear sights and restamping of the sights in meters. Most Dragoon rifles were later converted into 1891-30s. After the 1891-30, we have the sniper version of the 1891-30. It has the hit power of 15, a muzzle velocity of 815, and has a reload of 3.5, meaning it has a rate of fire of 14 to 15 rounds per minute. It has 5 rounds, and it is both available at rank 2 for Berlin and for Moscow. The 1891-30 sniper rifle is the most common rifle used in World War II. It is mounted with a 3.5 power PU scope that is available in Enlisted, and is both in Moscow and in Berlin. After that, we have the Dragoon rifle, which is also known as the M91 Dragoon rifle. It has 15 hit power, 815 muzzle velocity, 3.2 reload, a rate of fire of 15 to 17 rounds per minute, 5 rounds in the magazine, and is only available at rank 3 for Moscow. The Dragoon rifle was intended to be used by Dragoons, therefore 64mm or 2.5 inches shorter and 0.4 kilograms or 0.9 pounds lighter than the M1891. The Dragoon rifle's dimensions were identical to the later M1891 rifle, and therefore most Dragoon rifles were eventually reworked into M1891-30s. Next we have the model 1938 carbine. This has a hit power of 13, a muzzle velocity of 775, a reload of 3.5, 18 to 19 rounds per minute, 5 rounds, and is stock for Berlin while it is achieved at rank 6 for Moscow. The model 1938 carbine is a carbine based on the 1891-30 that was designed and produced from 1939 to 1945 at the Ishvesk Arsenal, and in 1940 and 1944 at Tula. They were attended by second echelon and non-combatant troops. This carbine does not have a bayonet. As a matter of fact, it was designed so that the standard model 1891-30 bayonet could not fix. This is extremely funny considering the fact that the one that we have in game has a bayonet. After the model 1938 carbine, we have the model 1944 carbine. It has a hit power of 13, a muzzle velocity of 775, a reload of 2.9, a rate of fire of 18 to 20 rounds per minute, 5 rounds in the magazine, and is only achieved at rank 2 in Berlin. This carbine was introduced into service in late 1944 and remained in production in 1945. They were produced from 1943 to 1945 at the Ishvesk Arsenal. Its specifications are very similar to the M1938, with the unique addition of a permanently fixed bayonet. As a matter of fact, the bayonet is side-folding crucifixion spike form bayonet. In February 1944, this carbine was introduced to Red Army infantry units as a replacement for the standard rifle. Despite the fact that some of these rifles have only 13 hit power, Soviet rifles are some of the best of the bunch. The 1891-30 and Dragoon have 15 hit power, while only the VZ-25 have 15 hit power for the Axis in Moscow. That said, they tend to take a slightly longer reload time at a tenth of a second longer. Their muzzle velocity is great compared to German rifles in Moscow, but they are outmatched by American rifles with a muzzle velocity of 830 compared to 815 for the Mosins. That said, the key thing for all guns is whoever shoots first and hits the target survives. For those who want the better rifle and do not care about Civil War orders, get the model 1891-30. It has a good sight, it has 15 hit power, and it has a good muzzle velocity. If you want to save up silver orders, the stock model 1907 will do just fine. However, keep in mind the German Gewehr 3340 is slightly faster, but has lower velocity, meaning that it can outshoot you, but it does worse at longer range. That said, this ends the video for the Mosin. I hope you like and enjoy, and I'll see you in the next one. Now before you leave, I would like to thank you very much for watching this video. I will be honored if you could like and subscribe to the channel. Remember, more videos are coming out, so it is a good idea to click on that notification button. Anyways, have a great day and I'll see you in the next one.